Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Lucha Rewatch Season 3. We are on episode 11, and on today's episode, we will be discussing, in hindsight, Lucha Underground Season 3, episodes 21 and 22. We got a little more Mundo Mac. We got the introduction of the Cueto Cup. We got some crazy announcements. We got some fun matches. John, how did you feel about episodes 21 and 22 of season 3?
Oh, brother, these were a fun time. I think these were two episodes that to me seemed to be more match heavy than anything else. But yeah, that doesn't mean that they weren't fun. We really saw the beginning of the Cueto Cup in episode 22. It got announced in episode 21. So, that this is really where the season really begins to pick up because Ultima Lucha Trace becomes more in focus. So, yeah, man, let's just get right into these episodes here today.
Absolutely. We start things out on episode 21, recap as usual, talking about Puma and Katrina, Cobra Moon and Drago, and then, of course, recapping the previous episode all night long. The first thing that we see is Prince Puma in the restroom staring into a mirror with memories of grave consequences and Vampiro running through his mind. Rey Mysterio shows up just in time to prevent Puma from punching the mirror and tells him, hey, man, I'm concerned that you're getting so close to Vampiro. Vampiro doesn't care about you. He's only using you for his own agenda. He's not your friend. He's not your master. And then Puma turns right around to Rey and is like, neither are you. And then he walks out on him. And then Rey looks back into the mirror only to see Vampiro behind him telling him to stay away from Puma. And then he says, or like his last master, referring to Conan, I'll send you straight to hell. And that like plays over and over in his mind like an echo, like drugs or something. And then Rey ends up punching the mirror.
Yeah, great tone setter here for the night. And, because the Dark Puma storyline is one of the bigger storylines going on in Lucha Underground, it was very short and got straight to the point, and I quite enjoyed it. I felt like its simplicity was its strength. We see that Rey is the ultimate good, Vampiro's coming off as the ultimate evil, and Puma's kind of caught between two extremes. So I thought this was nicely done.
Yeah, definitely. I enjoyed the hell out of it. And then we come back into the temple and we see Matt Stryker, and he starts talking about how, Mundo and Mac is going to go on until we get a winner. But if it doesn't go all night long again, we're going to have the trios titles on the line and a Prince Puma versus Mil Muertes Boyle Heights street fight tonight. And then he kicks it over to Melissa, and we start things off with exactly what Stryker was talking about. Mac Mundo, sudden death.
Yeah, Cueto comes out and announces that this is going to be a bit different. This is going to be Falls Count Anywhere. And the match that proceeds from this, I thought was a lot of fun. Great back and forth. Mac had some innovative offense here. He had like a scoop slam where he had like a chair behind Mundo's back. This way, when he slammed him down, like he met chair instantly. There was a cool spot here where Mundo tried a springboard maneuver and Mac caught him with a stunner, but Mundo goes outside the ring, and then Mac, he like takes a second and he's like, oh shit, Falls Anywhere, and he goes to the cover. I like that. Mac got his big power bomb in this match, which again, I'm a big fan of, but that only got a 2 count. They do more fighting on the outside when Ricky Mundo, who was still Ricky Mandel at the time, he comes out, tries to, stop the Mac. And then after that distracted, Mundo does a dive off, with that parkour training and whatnot that looks absolutely gorgeous. So great back and forth with these two. Ultimately, the match ends, though. It seems like Mac's going to do like a Fire Thunder Drive or something onto the pile of chairs on the outside. Taya, though, grabs Mundo's leg, pulls him off. Then Mundo is able to do like a sunset flip powerbomb into the chairs, and that's what gets the 3 count for Mundo to retain. I thought this was a great ending to All Night Long, too. Mac looked great here. I mean, his offense is so much fun being a bigger guy. And Mundo, again, being that heel, using PJ Black, using Ricky Mandel, using Taya to get the job done once again. He's still the Lucha Underground champion, and this is just a great outing for his reign.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that Taya ended up being the deciding factor yet again, too.
Absolutely. So then after this part, I'm going to hand it over to you because Dario Cueto has an announcement to make.
Oh, yes. My boy Cueto comes out to announce the greatest thing in the history of underground fighting, according to him, that being, and then he says, wait for it. And then Melissa shows up at the top of the temple steps holding up a gigantic trophy. And then Cueto officially says, the Cueto Cup. And then he mentions that it's going to be 32 of the best luchadors from all over the world. The winner will be challenging for the Lucha Underground title at Ultima Lucha 3. And of course, the champion right now is Johnny Mundo, but it might not be by the time we get to Ultima Lucha 3 because Johnny Mundo must defend his title between now and Ultima Lucha 3. And his opponent, Cueto, says that he considered just giving the shot to his brother, but his brother brought shame upon the Cueto name in this temple. So instead, he's going to give it to the man who brought violence upon his brother and really represents and brings honor to the temple, Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, huge announcements here from Cueto. I love that the Cueto Cup is essentially the entire Lucha Underground roster with like 32 competitors, and Mundo versus Rey. I mean, this is the beginning of them treating this as probably the biggest Lucha Underground championship match in the show's history, because the build that would proceed from this would be crazy, and we'll get into a little bit of that later on. But yeah, this is a fantastic segment. I think we can move right along, though, because we get the Lucha Super Friends, Aerostar, Drago, and Phoenix versus the Reptile Tribe, Vibora, Pindar, and Cobra Moon for the Trios Championships. Not really much to say about this match. I feel like the highlights really came towards the end. You know, Phoenix getting Tombstone pile driven by Vibora was just fantastic.
That was so good. To me, the most commonly used move in Lucha Libre is the leg scissors takedown or the Hurricane Rana or the Frankenstein or however the hell you want to put it. And somebody in the temple that can use a tombstone to counter that move is so amazing to have around.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And of course, the big narrative plot point here, the heel turn, Drago misting Aerostar in the face. And then he turns out to be the real third member of the Reptile Tribe team, because Cobra Moon never formally got tagged in. Yeah. And yeah, it's a triple team maneuver. Vibora and Pindar restraining Aerostar. And Drago does a splash off the top rope. He gets the 3 count. So your new Trios champions, Drago, Vibora, and Pindar. Drago switching partners. He came in with the Trios Championship with one set of partners, and he leaves with a new set of partners. Fun match, but yeah, definitely those last like 5 minutes, I'd say, are the best part of it, because you get, again, Vibora being a beast and Drago's big heel turn. So good stuff.
And really, how cool is it that the 3 generals led the Reptile Tribe to their original prominence back in the day are now reunited and holding those trios championships?
That's a great point, partner. I didn't even really think about that, but yeah, you're absolutely right. That's amazing. All right, well, after this match, we get probably one of my favorite cinematics of the season. I'm going to give you the reins on this one. Worldwide Underground reconvening after Mundo's latest title defense.
And I freaking absolutely adored this segment. This was the original No Time for Pants segment.
Yeah, you know what, dude? Looking back, and it's funny because this did happen in 2017. This should have been my quote of the year, I think. Because hearing it again, I couldn't help but smile and just be like, oh my God, that's amazing. But yeah, what did you think about all this?
I mean, this was honestly one of my favorite segments of the entire season. And really, honestly, I love too that this segment kind of made Johnny Mundo seem like Goku. Because, like, he comes out in a towel and he's just like, hey, Ricky, where's the champagne I requested earlier? And Taya told him to hold off on it. And he's just like, oh, I wonder why I should do that. I'm still champion. And then she shows up and she goes, damn, Johnny, that was a long shower. I've got some really bad news. And then tells him about this big title defense that he has against Rey Mysterio that Cueto announced while Johnny was in the shower. And Johnny gets this great serious look on his face. And he's just like, Ricky, warm up the car. I'll have to train harder than I've ever trained before in order to beat Rey. He's no joke. And then he, like, when Ricky leaves, he tells Taya, I didn't want the kid to see me nervous. And that's when he said the Rey's no joke and they'll have to train harder than ever to beat him line. And then he's just like, let's do this. And Taya's like, aren't you going to put pants on? And that's the line of the century. Mundo says, no time for pants. And then he just walks off. I loved this segment so much.
You know what really makes this cinematic work to me watching it again? Like, it doesn't undersell the threat that Rey is, quite the contrary. Like, the idea that Mundo makes that acknowledgement privately to Taya, who really is his confidant and everything. She was the first one to come in and help him. but it doesn't lose the campiness that's essential to what makes Worldwide Underground so great. I love that. I love that they can walk the line where they can be serious enough about Ray, but not give up like the comedic undertones and everything that make this faction work. It's really great. So after that, we get our main event, the Boyle Heights street fight, Mill versus Puma. This was a fun match. I mean, they threw everything out here. I mean, just a couple highlights. We got the Reaper's Trident through a table on the outside. The Dark Puma was setting up. They're fighting up on the stairs at one point, and Mill actually tries throwing Dark Puma over the stairs. That was crazy. There's garbage involved. You know, Mill getting hit with a garbage can, and then Puma doing a Pumanator, as Matt Stryker called it. That was ridiculous because he does like a forward flip like in midair. So suck it, Shane and Van Dam. That's
and Killian Dane.
And Killian Dane. Yeah, that's again why I had Ricochet and our 5 on, that was Monday, you know, on my list for other, because with that kind of athleticism, like, it's undeniable. He only gets a 2 count there, but I love the Dark Puma though, and then this is kind of the differences between him and his lighter half. He doesn't immediately pander. You know, he goes for the 630, he hits it, but then he does kind of pander a little bit, you know, and that's the thing. He's still working on it. Katrina comes in, hits him with the rock, and as Mill's starting to stir and Puma's starting to stir, you know, Vampiro comes in, hands him a brick to even the odds.
Here, kid, take this brick.
Exactly. And then when Mill's charging at him, presumably for another Reaper's Trident, he cracks the brick right across his skull.
I saw that. It literally exploded. That was great.
Yeah, and then he gets the 3 count. So Dark Puma beating Mil Muertes in a very fun Boyle Heights street fight. You know, I love these two working together. Mill's a beast. And again, Puma's athleticism, regardless of what you think about the man under the mask, is just undeniable. That Van Pumanator was just unreal to me. So yeah, fun match. And that rounds out episode 21. So we'll get right into episode 22. And we begin with Cueto working on a board for the Cueto Cup when we get a nice little return here, partner.
Yeah, brother. Wait, hang on 1 second. Oh, we're talking about episode 22 now, right?
Yeah, we finished episode 21, the Boyle Heights Street Fight. There was no cinematic after that, so.
Yeah, that's right. I keep on, every time we finish an episode, as far as the match goes, I always expect for there to be a cinematic, but there wasn't one on 21, and I had to remember that. But yeah, Cueto sent in the brackets, Pentagon Dark shows up out of nowhere, and I love, too, that Cueto was just like, get the hell out of my office, I'm busy, and no one shows up in my office unannounced, and Pentagon's just like, I do, bitch. And yeah, he's healed up from having both of his arms broken by Black Lotus and Dragon Azteca Jr. And Cueto offers to put him in the cup. He basically, you know, he says, hey, man, I know you want your revenge, but here's the thing. Black Lotus hasn't been around for a month. So I have no clue where she is. So the best I can do for you to prevent you from breaking both of my arms is to give you an opportunity to win the Lucha Underground Championship, because I know that's what you want at the end of the day. Puts him in the cup, and we find out later tonight that his first opponent is kind of a gimme a little bit, but not really. It was still the second shortest match of the night, and the other match that was shorter was a guy that literally was willing to lose on purpose. So yeah, the shortest unintentional loss of the night, I guess you could say, was our highness to Pentagon. But yeah, he also, I loved this because this to me had further implications. Pentagon tells Cueto that if he doesn't leave Ultima Lucha with Aztec Gold, that Cueto would leave Ultima Lucha with broken bones. Now, let's not forget, Johnny Mundo later on in the season says to Cueto, if I lose my championship tonight unfairly, I'm walking out and I'm keeping the title, and I'm walking out with the title with me. And Cueto went out of his way to help Mundo win that match. So maybe, even though we never saw Pentagon tell Cueto that he was cashing in Gift of the Gods for the last episode, maybe this was kind of what that was. This was him saying, like, I'm leaving Ultima Lucha with the championship, whether you like it or not. And Cueto on the last night made like an exception to his own rule because he didn't want to get his arms broken.
I'm so glad you mentioned this, partner, because I had literally the exact same thought process when watching this again.
Yeah.
And you know what makes this so perfect? Because like I was even thinking about it. This all comes like him capitulating to Mundo and then later Pentagon Dark after we've already seen Matanza kind of go rogue a little bit and think for himself. So, like, it's not that he's completely lost control of Matanza, but maybe that also says, well, I can't rely on him completely because when I want to.
Yeah, he's not quite as smug anymore. I love that. That's a great point. I hadn't even thought of that, but yeah, Matanza, the implications of Matanza kind of separating himself a little bit from Dario and not being completely subservient anymore really have been felt throughout the season through the Pentagon thing and then later the Johnny thing, because Cueto can't fend for himself anymore.
Exactly. So, like, when you look at it just as a complete picture, it flows quite nicely because even I was thinking, like, while you were talking, and again, I had similar thoughts as you. Well, wait, what about Matanza? But then when you think about the Matanza relationship, like, even when he wanted Matanza to get his championship back, what was all Matanza could think about? Rey Mysterio. Like, even just that little instant shows that he's becoming more sentient. Like, he's having his own original thoughts independent of Cueto. So Cueto's probably thinking, well, I can't get him to do my bidding always, because then what if he starts to turn on me? So I've got to still learn to handle my own business. And how do I do that? Well, as a proprietor, I can do anything. So I just find that whole stream of like thought and events, very interesting for the Cueto character and the larger implications of the temple. Really glad you brought that up, dude. So with that said, we go from that cinematic to the first round matchup of the Cueto Cup.
And I don't have any notes about the match itself, but I do have that it was just under 8 minutes.
Yeah, not a really long match. All things considered, the Mac versus Mala Suerte. Solid back and forth. Mala Suerte tried to do a handshake thing with the Mac early on to kind of psych him out, and then he just kind of, chops him. I thought that was pretty cool. Mac doing the fun power game that we know and love him for, the moonsaults and stuff like that. Mala Suerte got a, pretty cool looking senton at one point to the Mac. There was some really fun offense on both sides here that I quite enjoyed. Ultimately, though, the Mac does get the win with the stunner. He advances in a solid first round matchup for the Cueto Cup. So then we go from that to a Cage and Dario cinematic. And partner, what happened here and what did you think about it?
Yeah, we had Cage doing the curls with his left hand because he can't do it with his right hand because the gauntlet's there. Cueto shows up to tell him that Lawrence Delgado has requested his presence. Cage is obviously completely against this. He has no interest. And I also, before I even continue discussing what happened in this, I love the way that whoever directed this scene and the post-production, whoever came up with how to shoot this and how to kind of make it feel, because this was some of the most tense shit ever, because you really feel like at any moment Cage could snap and throttle Cueto by the neck, and there's like this constant of tension going on in this scene, and I absolutely love it. And I don't know who's responsible for making it that way, but whoever it was, props to you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, dude. I completely agree with everything you're saying. I feel like they really captured the tension because, like, and especially given, not to jump the gun here, but especially given the ending cinematic, which I can't wait for you to talk about when we get there. Like, that this guy is a loose cannon, and not in that Brian Pillman sense either. In the
in a Brian Cage sense.
Exactly. And I will take your life if you even look at me the wrong way sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was great. I really enjoyed this cinematic because, Cueto really is urging Cage, like, no, you got to understand he's a very powerful man. Highly suggest you see him. I'll even reimburse you for the trip.
Yep.
And, it seems like Cage is going to consider it. So again, nice little tone setter, not for the beginning of the show like we're used to, but more for the end of the show, which we'll get to. After that, though, we get another round one matchup for the Cueto Cup. Pentagon Dark versus Argenis. I mean, guys, it was a solid matchup. Argenis got some cool offense here, including a moonsault on the outside that looked quite nice.
This match was under 6 minutes, by the way. It was five or 6 minutes.
Yeah, but like you all know how it was going to end. Pentagon Dark wins after the Fear Factor, which is the package pile driver. And then after the matchup, he breaks Argenis' arm because I guess he didn't learn any empathy after getting his own arms broken. So solid matchup, but it was a foregone conclusion as far as I'm concerned. After this, again, we get another Cueto Cup matchup. So rolling right along. We didn't get a match cinematic for me.
That's why I didn't say anything, because I saw that up next was another match.
Tejano versus Famous B. Famous B saying, "Now listen here, Tejano." He was just gonna lay down because he still wants Tejano as a client. And I love the commentary was joking about, the finger poke of doom and Vampiro's only seen this once before, and Matt Striker's like, well, how did it work out for them? And he's like, they're not in business anymore, so alluding to WCW. And Tejano goes for the pin, but then he just grabs Famous B, and Brendan's like, no, take it. And he's not going to take the pin, does the sit-out powerbomb, 3 count. So Tejano, the douche, not looking to just take the win and Famous B's goodwill. He has to do things his way so that he feels like a man. And, so he wins with this powerbomb. After that, though, we get the first of many hype videos between Johnny Mundo and Rey Mysterio. I'll leave this one to you, brother. What do you think about this?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I love this video package. Mike Chiavello. The biggest reason that I wasn't a fan of him commentating Ultima Lucha, one, was just because I had grown so accustomed to the chemistry between Matt Striker and Vampiro. And also, I'm not a fan of having 2 play-by-play guys on the desk at the same time. So, yeah, I like Chiavello, but to me, this is his best work in Lucha Underground right here, is his voiceover work for this video package. If you want to bring him back to commentary, I'd be cool with it, but have him replace Striker, not Vampiro. We need a color commentator at all times to be just helping along, telling the story and stuff. But yeah, and honestly, it's funny because Chiavello really does kind of remind me of like an Australian version of Mauro Ranallo, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely. And I gotta say, I feel like voiceover work really is his niche. Like that's really where he does thrive.
It's great.
It seems so natural. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, absolutely. He does the voiceover. He highlights Rey, and Mundo talks about how Rey is great and this legend, but he's never held the Lucha Underground title. And that brings us to the guy that is holding the title, Johnny Mundo, and talks about how ego-driven and cocky he is and stuff like that. Yeah, just does a great job of highlighting kind of who these guys are. Like, I love that Lucha Underground did such a great job of kind of being that stereotypical wrestling company here and doing like the 6 or 7 weeks ahead of time hype for a big match. But not only did they decide to kind of step into that realm that they're not used to doing, but we talked about it when we were watching this live the first time and reviewing it for the first time. They do it better than everyone else. Like, they do traditional pro wrestling better than companies that are actually trying to be traditionally pro wrestling.
Yeah, that's just insane to think about. It's almost like thumbing it in the face of everybody. It's like, oh, Lucha Underground's this, probably because they can never do this. And then it's like, oh yeah, we could be what you'd want us to be too, and we can be it better than the people you consume on a regular basis. Like, it's ridiculous to me, but real testament to their work and their quality as a promotion. After this highlight, because again, this is the first of many, we get our main event match of the episode, the another Cueto Cup Round 1 matchup, Aerostar versus Drago. I mean, these guys have such extensive history with each other, not just recently coming off of being trios champions together, but, we remember their best of 5 series back in season 1, their friendship that's grown. It's actually one of the more, not underrated, but, it's kind of a relationship that's kind of under the radar this season, but it's one that's been, season 1, 2, and now 3, a long-standing friendship.
Yeah, because they had that best of 5 series in season 1, and then they had
season 2, the nunchucks match that they did against PJ Black and Jack Evans. So they got
exactly. And then of course they were trios champions together until Drago turned. So yeah, this is a long-standing relationship, and it's cool to not only did we get them in a really good match, but then at the end Drago did like whatever the hell you want to call that thing was that he did to Aerostar to him.
Yeah, like that was like that hammerlock back kind of face buster or something.
Yeah, like I almost call it it was almost like a hammerlock Alabama Slam almost.
Yeah, something like that.
Or actually, it would be like a reverse Alabama, like a hammerlock reverse Alabama Slam.
But, I really appreciate this match, especially with Drago working the more clearly defined heel role.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like when these guys have worked in the past, even their best of 5 series, maybe one guy got more aggressive because they wanted to win, but there really wasn't a clearly defined heel in my eyes. Here, Drago is the villain. I like the beginning where Aerostar has this hesitation, sort of trying to get that narrative element in there. Both guys are superb at what they do. Cobra Moon even got involved at one point because Aerostar had Drago on the outside, and it seemed like, he had Drago in a bad way. But then she trips Aerostar up in the apron, so, he eats that. Aerostar tries using the Dragon's Tail pin, but Drago kicks out of it. And then just a few moments later, he gets the blockbuster DDT, and then he gets the Dragon's Tail himself. And that's
I don't know what Drago calls that, but I always know it by Will Ospreay's name for it, which is the Essex Destroyer.
Ah, nice. And then yeah, Drago does get the Dragon's Tail on Aerostar for the win. And then, like you said, after the match, he does put a little bit more stank on that beat down with that hammerlock face buster, as I've taken to call it, on Aerostar. And so Drago advances, which is really, really cool that, he turns heel, really embraces the Reptile Tribe because of the brainwashing. And, in that short amount of time, he's kept his trios championship and he's advanced in the Cueto Cup. I think that's really cool. So that was the main event, but we do have one more cinematic. And brother, I'm leaving this totally to you because this was some epic shit right here.
Dude, I loved this because even in the first watching, like I didn't catch on until after why Cage got triggered, but now in hindsight, it's so obvious. So Cage goes to Delgado's office and he shows up and he's in there and Delgado's just like, can't take it off, huh? That's good. That means it's working. And at first I was like, oh, so he literally physically can't take it off, but he just means like, oh, you can't take it off. Kind of like someone would be like smoking cigarettes, like, oh, you can't quit, can you? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he's just like, yeah, that's good. That means it's working. And then he's like, you were selected for a reason. And very soon you'll have more power than you could ever imagine. And then our work will finally begin. And then Cage is just like, I want to make this perfectly clear. I don't work for you. And Delgado says, but you will. And all of those meaningless days of lifting weights and drinking protein shakes, they're going to be over. Your life will finally have purpose. And then Cage throttles him by the throat and pushes him up against the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like, oh shit, man, I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. And Delgado goes, it's okay. You're still thinking like a man. Punch! Cage isn't a man. He's a machine. And now Delgado isn't a man either. He's a corpse.
Exactly, dude. His face, or should I say lack thereof, holy fucking shit, dude.
Yeah, his face, which is scattered all over the floor and on Cage's gauntlet now.
Like because there's one thing I had a question about on this cinematic. He steps on something squishy as he's walking out. Was that his eyeball?
Probably. I didn't catch it, but yeah, it probably was. It didn't surprise me. It was either just an eyeball or just brain matter. Either way, what does it matter?
I mean, yeah. I mean, when you're dead, you're dead. That's all that matters. And yeah, it's great. I love when Lucha Underground does the somewhat gorier shit, and I love like the faraway camera shot of the corpse. It's not like all up close and interface. Like, no, he's just walking out, and you just get to see just a glimpse of the devastation he left behind. I thought it was so cool. Really, so many great cinematics in hindsight from season 3, between the Worldwide Underground cinematic, which was more comedic, and then this, which was like, oh my God, this is why you're perfect for a network like El Rey, because this just fits the overall aesthetic of the network, and certainly on a more microcosmic scale, the aesthetic of what you're going for as a promotion. This cinematic was fucking awesome, and yet one of the many reasons why I really do love Cage. Really, you made a distinction between the Jeff Cobbs. I love Lucha Underground Cage more than independent Cage, like, PWG and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, independent Cage will still put on great matches pretty consistently, but there's no character there really, other than just get your shit in and I'm a fucking machine and all that shit.
Exactly. And that's why I love Lucha Underground Cage, because you do get to see that character. You get to see that guy, really go through all of this. And yeah, he's fucking amazing. So that was that. That was the cinematic, and that was our 2 episodes already, guys. So that's it for Lucha Rewatch this week. And partner, I'm going to hand it over to you to take us home, because I really got nothing else to say.
Yeah, I was going to say, the next few episodes of Lucha Rewatch are probably going to be a little bit on the shorter side like this one, because as you saw with our discussion of episode 22, it really is kind of dominated by quicker matches, and those don't really draw out long, discussions from us. Just because how much can you say when 2 guys just put on a solid 6 or 8 minute match and then one of them wins that you expected to win the whole time? So yeah, expect the next like 3 to 6 or so episodes of Lucha Rewatch to be a little bit shorter than what we've been going. I feel like we've been kind of averaging in like the 40 to 55 minute range with these, if I had to guess. I know the last like 1 or 2, I think the last one we went over an hour, and then the 2 before that we went like closer to like 55 minutes. But yeah, so the 30 minutes that we did today probably going to be more typical over the next few weeks, maybe over the next month or 2, just because of the content that we're going to be talking about, because they are shorter episodes. But that's okay, because it's worth it, because when we come out on the other side, we're going to get so much amazing Lucha Underground content. I'm super psyched about it. And then, hell, by the time we finish this series, we'll be pretty damn close to Lucha Underground Season 4, which is what we're really doing this to kind of bide our time for, because at the end of the day, we just can't go on this channel without weekly Lucha Underground content. It's just painful, right?
Absolutely. It's fucking agony. I mean, this thing is the only thing really keeping my withdrawal at bay from showing its worst manifestations, if you will. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a caffeine addict just having their 1 cup of coffee in the morning and trying their best to avoid thinking about it for the rest of the day.
Exactly. But we're not going to succumb to that. We'll survive. Barely.
Notice he said survive, though, and not thrive. That's the thing. We only thrive when Lucha Underground is producing new content, which hopefully we won't have to wait until very much long after, like, WrestleMania for that to happen. So,
yeah, this is why we'd kill for some new comics, just saying.
I know, dude. I even sent a tweet to the guys that made the comics asking if there were any more planned, and he said, no, we just got commissioned for those 4, and that's it. So depressing, but it's all right. We'll live. It'll be agonizing, but we'll live. All right, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed episode 11 of Lucha Underground Rewatch Season 3. We will be back tonight at 8 as an alternative to watching the clip show episode of NXT, because who gives a shit about that? You can join us at 8 o'clock tonight for our Wrestle Kingdom 12 preview and predictions. And we will be going live with our live reactions to Wrestle Kingdom 12 tomorrow night. And then, of course, New Year Dash live reactions on Friday. I believe those are slated to both happen at 5 p.m. So hopefully you guys are able to be there for that. I know if you're in the UK, that's around 10 p.m. Hopefully that's not too late, but I mean, hell, Wrestle Kingdom's probably going to be a 4-hour show. So by the time we're done with that, it'll already be 2 a.m. Have fun with that. I know there are some people that'll stay up for it, but I'm hoping that that more than the usual will turn up for that, because those shows are going to be freaking incredible, especially Wrestle Kingdom itself and the live reactions to it. But yeah, tonight, 8 p.m., Wrestle Kingdom preview predictions. Be there or be square. And of course, remember to like the video, leave a comment what you thought about these episodes of Lucha Underground Season 3. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and click the bell when you do so that you can get notified every time we go live or upload a video. And of course, check out the playlists. We have 3 Lucha Underground rewatch seasons worth of playlists for you to check out, 1, 2, and the ongoing Season 3. And of course, if you want to go back and see our initial reactions to Lucha Underground Season 3 episodes, you can see our live reactions to the episodes as they're happening, and then our post-episode reviews discussing what we might not have necessarily talked about during our live reactions, because we get so swept up in the moment for those that we still have a lot more to say after we are done watching the show. All those playlists are in the description, as well as links to our Teespring, where you can buy our merch, and our Patreon, where you can support us, join the Discord, request some content, contribute to help us continue live reacting to progress every week, every month. And finally, follow us both on Twitter, like the Facebook, and check out the subreddits. We will see you guys tonight at 8, or if you're only here because of Lucha Underground, which frankly, I can't blame you. It is amazing. We will see you next Wednesday with episode 12 of Lucha Rewatch Season 3. But of course, you've got to remember to stay tuned.